All right, hello everyone. We're going to dive in today and welcome to this week's Alertus Power Lunch, essential AlertAware configuration tasks for effective management and optimal performance. So my name is Brooke and I'm a trainer here at Alertus. We're also joined by Sarah, another training specialist here who will be leading the conversation today. So this session is designed specifically for AlertAware owners and admins to dive deep into the key system configuration settings, including managing users and recipients, groups, and one-touch activations. Whether you are new to AlertAware or looking to optimize your configuration, the session will provide valuable tips and best practices to help you get the most out of your system. So as always, this is an interactive session, so please feel free to put any questions in the Q&A box, and also be aware that this session is being recorded for training purposes. All right, Sarah, throwing it over your way.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brooke. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen so that we can get started. So I'm just logged into my AlertAware system here. I'm using the web portal. You'll have a lot of the same functionality from the mobile application as well, but if you are going in and making configuration changes, I definitely recommend doing it from the web portal just because it's a bigger screen and it's a little bit easier to see and navigate. But I did want to start under this manage section to give some more information about how you can manually manage the users and recipients in your AlertAware system. And just to quickly note the difference between the two, users are going to be people in your system that do have an AlertAware login. So they'll be able to use the AlertAware mobile app and get push notifications to their phones. Recipients do not have an AlertAware login, so recipients will not be able to log into the mobile app, and therefore recipients won't be able to get push notifications. So you can add recipients if you want their information in the system, so you can send out text, voice calls, or emails. But if you are using push notifications and you want people to be able to use the AlertAware mobile app, then I recommend adding them as a user. The reader user role would be your end user. That would be someone that would be reading or receiving those push notifications. And then anyone that you do add as an admin or an owner, those are the users that would be able to send activations out to everyone. And I'm logged in as an owner in this system, but it'll look pretty similar for anyone that is an admin as well. So under that manage section from the users tab here, if you do want to manually invite a new user, like a new admin into the system, you can click invite a user, and then you'll be able to fill out their information here, and then you'll be able to assign them to the role that you'd like them to have. And then once you click invite, it will go ahead and send them the email invitation so that they can confirm and set up their account. You can also track the status of any of those invitations. If you come to this invitations tab, it'll show you if you've sent any out and if they have been accepted yet. And then also from this tab, if you do ever need to update anyone's access, say you added someone initially as a reader, but now it makes more sense for them to have the admin role, you can click these action buttons on the right-hand side and click edit. And then you can update that profile settings, including assigning them to a different role. And in addition to managing users, you can also manage recipients under this recipient section. I actually don't have any recipients in my system since I'm using push notifications and I want people to be able to get those. But if you did need to manually create recipients in your system, you can use this create recipient button and fill out their information. So if you provide a phone number, that's what would allow them to get the text and the voice calls to that phone number. And then you can also provide an email if you do want them to get those email notifications. And then once you save them, they'll be added on your system and you'll be able to see them here. You do also have the option to manually manage your groups under this groups tab. So these are groups of people that you are able to target during activations so that you can send them out specifically to the people you would like to receive them. So you can see we have a number of groups created on the system here. You can create a group by clicking this create group button, or you can edit any of the existing groups that you already have created. Maybe I'll just look at this building one group that I created as an example. But here you'll be able to see the recipients and the users that are assigned to that group. You can also add users or add recipients from here or remove any as well. And here's where you can also come to update the name and the description for the group. And you can also turn on this auto subscription toggle if you'd like. So that would mean any new users that are manually added to the organization would be automatically put into that group. And you can also add a PIN code if you do want to PIN protect your groups. This can be some additional security. So if you do have a PIN code for a group, any users would not be able to leave or join the group unless they provide the PIN code. So that could be a good option. I definitely recommend if you do add a PIN code that you do keep it on file somewhere just so that you can keep track of which PIN code goes with which group. But if you do have a large number of users or recipients that you're managing, you probably don't want to have to come in here and create them all individually. So under this data sync tab, you have some more options for managing those users, recipients, and groups in bulk. So you have these two options here to do a bulk upload of users or recipients by pulling in a specific CSV file. So I'm just going to click on this users option to show you what it will look like. But you can decide if you want it to be a manual one-time upload, or you can also have scheduled uploads at fixed intervals. You can also set it to just be automatically uploaded like monthly, weekly, or daily if you want to make sure that it's staying up to date. And then you're able to pull in the CSV file that you'd like to use that does contain your recipient or user information. And to make sure that you have the file formatted correctly, there is a button here that you can download a sample CSV file to see what user information would need to be included. And if you are migrating from the old Alertis mobile recipient app to AlertAware, there is an option that you can download all of your recipient app user information, and then you could upload it into AlertAware here to go ahead and add everyone. And I did go ahead and download that sample CSV file, so I have it pulled up here. So this is what that upload will look like. You'll have a row here for every person with their name. Their username will just be their email address, and then you can provide a phone number for them or multiple phone numbers. Then you'll also have an email, and then you can even go ahead and add those users into groups. If you see in this group column, I can go ahead and list all of the groups that I'd like that user to be in. So then once this upload is complete, they would just be automatically added into any groups that I have listed here. And note, if you are listing multiple groups in this document, you'll want to separate the groups with this pipe character instead of a comma. It'll be that like straight up and down bar between each group to separate them. And just make sure that the group name in this file exactly matches the name of the group that you have in your AlertAware system. So I'd recommend if you have your groups set up, you can just copy the group name to make sure it matches exactly in your CSV file. That way AlertAware can recognize the group and make sure the user is put in the correct one. And in addition to doing the CSV upload there is also an option under this data sync section that you can click on this connections button and create a connection if you do want to set up an SFTP connection that could be a more secure way that you can transfer that information, but the file would look similar. And then in addition to the data sync options, we do also have a self-registration portal that can be created if you do want to give your AlertAware users the option to enroll themselves. And you would be able to set up the self-registration portal under the settings. There is a tab here called self-registration portal. And if you are an admin in the system, you'll be able to view the self-registration portals that already exist on your system, but to create a new self-registration portal, you will need to have owner access in the system. But we can create one together. I'm just going to click Create SRP as an example, and you're able to give it a name. This is only visible to you, so it kind of just lets you know what the self-registration portal is for. Maybe I'll just call this Camp Self-Registration Portal. And then you're able to specify the language that will be used. I'm just going to stick with the default. I have my system in English here. And then for the title, this is going to be visible to the public when they are registering. So maybe I could call this mobile notification, sign up, something to let them know what this is for. And then you can also include a description here. Again, this is visible to your users. This is what they'll see when they are enrolling with the self-registration portal. Maybe I could say, fill out your information here to enroll in mobile alerts, or whatever you would like to give them as the directions here. And then there are a number of settings that you can specify, and these have been updated recently to give you even more options. So this first active toggle just determines if the self-registration portal is currently live and enabled, so it's available for people to use. This subscription expiration can be helpful if you do want to have users be removed from the system after a specified period of time. So for example, if I'm creating a self-registration portal for a camp that's only a week long, I might want people to sign up for the duration of that camp or that event, and then I could set this up so that they would just be automatically removed from the system after that event is over. So definitely a helpful option for some short-term enrollments. And then you can also specify specific email domains that are allowed. So this would allow you to have your users sign up with a specific email. So if you did want to require them to use like your work email or the university email, you can specify a domain here. And then you can also go ahead and add the users that use this portal to sign up to specific groups. So for example, if I'm creating this self-registration portal for a week-long camp, I might want to go ahead and put them in a group I created for participants of that camp. And then you can also specify a PIN code here if you did want to make the registration portal more secure. If a PIN code is enabled, then the user would be prompted to put in that PIN code before they'll be allowed to enroll themselves in your AlertAware system. And then finally, you can also specify the sign-in methods. So if you want people to use SSO to sign in, for example, with Google or another platform, you can make the sign-in method SSO based. Or if you want them to go ahead and just create a password for their AlertAware account, you can make it password based as well. And then once all of those settings look good, you'll just go ahead and click Create. And then it will create the self-registration portal. You're still able to come in here and edit the settings if you'd like. And then once the portal is created, it will generate this QR code that you can download and include in any documentation. And then there is also a URL that people can visit to sign up with this portal. And I'm just going to copy the URL quickly and then come over to another tab to show you what that page will look like. They'll be able to fill out their name, email, all of this information. And then once they click submit, that will go ahead and create their AlertAware account. And then if you picked password based as the sign-in method, they'll get an email for them to go ahead and create their password. Awesome. So those are all the ways that I wanted to go through about managing your users, recipients, and groups. But now I did want to spend some time to go through how to manage your AlertAware activation configuration. So if we do come back to the main AlertAware page, you'll see there are two activation methods in AlertAware. These one-touch activations are activations you've built out ahead of time for emergencies that you're able to send with one touch. And then these custom activations give you more customization options. So this will let you build out a new activation if you have a little bit more time or if you don't already have a one touch created for that scenario. But to walk through the process with you, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one touch activation so we can look at all of the fields in here. So this notification title is just the title of the alert that people will see. I'm just going to do an evacuation order as an example. And then for the notification content, this is your alert message. Maybe I will just say, maybe I'll do an evacuation order for building 1. And then maybe in my alert message, I'll say there is an evacuation order in effect for building 1. And you can, of course, say whatever you would like. Please exit the building. Please follow evacuation instructions. This message can be whatever you would want. And then there are also some options in here to add variables or prompts. If you click Insert Variable, you do have the option to add in these notification variables, including the activation date, the user who sent the alert out, or even your organization name, if you did want to pull in any of that information. And then you all also have the option to insert a prompt here. So this prompt would be something that the dispatcher would have to fill out. So you can create your own prompt here. It would be maybe if there was an evacuation for building 1, maybe I could have a prompt for the reason the evacuation was in place. This would just be any additional information the dispatcher would need to add. There is even the option to use this Alertus message prompt. If you do also have an Alertus system, if you are activating this one touch from Alertus, you can automatically pull in an Alertus message. But if I'm going to activate this from AlertAware, I won't need that. So I'll just stick with that message for now. You do also have the option to pull in a file here. So if I did have an evacuation map or any additional information I'd like to attach, I could do that here. And then there is the option to create a poll. So if you do want people to be able to respond with poll responses, either letting you know they saw the message or that they need some more information, you can create polls here. But it's totally optional. So if I know for an evacuation, I'm probably not going to be checking poll responses. If you don't create a poll, it just won't be displayed. And then I can go ahead and click next. So this section here is where I'm able to manage the users or recipients that this will go out to. I could just select all to send it to everyone on the system, or I could also target groups. For example, if this is an evacuation for building 1, I would most likely want to pull in my building 1 group, but you can pull in as many groups as you need. And then in addition to targeting by groups, you can also just select individual users or recipients. If you wanted to add in a few more people, you could do it this way as well. And then you also have some options here. If you click this button to disable notification confirmation, that would prevent people from being able to confirm that they received the notification. You do also have the option to hide the comment box. So again, if you're not going to be monitoring confirmations or comments, you can disable it. If it is something that you do want, you can leave it enabled. Maybe I'll just hide the comment box, but I do want people to be able to confirm that they got the message. And then I'll click next, and then I'm able to set the duration here. This duration is just how long the alert will show up as active in my AlertAware system. Maybe for an evacuation for a building, maybe I'll leave it for a couple of hours. And then I can also pull in an icon to use. This just helps me identify the one touch a little bit quicker. I do have this evacuation symbol I can pull in. And you do have the option here to assign an event to this activation. So if you did have a campus event going on, like a camp or conference, you're able to group different notifications under that event, just for record keeping if you do want to organize them that way. But that's optional. I'm not going to group it under an event for right now. And then I'll click next, and the final section here is where I'm able to specify the delivery methods that I'd like to use. So I want to send this out via a push notification. Maybe I will also send it as an SMS text. Maybe I'll also send a phone call as well. So you can pull in all of those options, and then if you click the drop down, you'll also be able to further customize the settings. So for push notifications, for example, you're able to customize the message for the push notification, and then you can also specify the default phone behavior or any other emergency tone that you'd like to use. Maybe I'll play this chime to really get people's attention. And you can preview any of those by clicking the speaker icon. And then you can also designate this push notification as a critical alert here. If this critical alerts box is checked, as long as the user has opted in to receive critical alerts through the app, then even if their phone is muted or on silence, the critical alert would override that and their phone would still make whatever tone you have selected when that alert comes in. And then once you have your delivery methods selected, this looks good to me, and we have a couple of options at the bottom. I could go ahead and press activate to just activate the one touch right now. I could also schedule the activation to go out at a specific time. And I do also have the option to just save it as a template so that I can use it later. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as a template. The template category selection here just gives you the option to put it into a category or folder for organizing your templates. For example, I just have a template category where I put all of my templates. And then you'll want to go ahead and turn on this toggle here to make it a one touch so that it will show up on the one touch activation page whenever you do need to activate it. I'm going to go ahead and save that. It will tell me it was saved successfully. I'll say okay. And now if I do come back to the main page and click on One Touch, now I will be able to see this evacuation order for building one that I just created. I can still edit the One Touch if needed from here or delete it. And then this is also where I can come to activate during an emergency. Once I press the activate button, I'll get this confirmation page so I can look over the settings one more time to make sure everything looks good. And then if I do go ahead and click yes, it will send out that one touch activation. I can say okay, and then we'll be able to see it coming into my phone. There are also some reports in AlertAware that will let you track the progress. And just to show you, I did receive that. Here is the voice call I can put on speaker.
This is a message from Alerta's training team. There is an evacuation order in effect for Building 1. To confirm the message, press 9.
I'm going to go ahead and confirm it by
Thank you.
pressing 9.
Goodbye.
It would also let me repeat the message, and then I will also show you I got the push notification and the text message coming into my phone as well. So I can tell that was successful. So that is how you configure the activations in AlertAware. And I believe that was all of the AlertAware configuration tasks I wanted to share with you today, but we do still have a bit of time left if there are any specific questions, and then there are some other resources that Brooke will be able to share in the chat with you all as well.
Yes, thanks so much, Sarah. That was very helpful. I love seeing the new features for the for the self-registration portal. So I am now going to put some documents in the chat. This first one is the data sync user guide for AlertAware. And this next one is going to be the creating activations user guide in AlertAware as well. So please feel free to utilize those. If you are not an AlertAware customer, you might not have access to these documents. So please do let us know if you want access, and we can either download them as a PDF or update your account if you are an AlertAware customer. In addition, our upcoming Power Lunch next week is going to be about updating your SSL certificates. So if you want to come to that Zoom link is in the chat as well. We'll be joined by a member of our tech support team who will also be taking us through how to do those updates on your end. But yeah, I think that's everything today. I don't see any questions coming in the chat or the Q&A box, so we'll hang on for a few more moments in case there are any lingering questions. But if not, really appreciate your time today, and I hope you have a good weekend.